to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of Be Awesome. Find positivity throughout your life and work, just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello, Be Awesome listeners. I am in beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina for episode 27 of the Be Awesome podcast, and I am super excited to share a guest with you today. One of my sales secret weapons professionally, and I have to say that his practices and his suggestions in life have helped me personally. Chris Daltorio, who is the owner, CEO of New Velocity Sales Training. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Peaches, it is awesome to be here.
We're going to say awesome a couple times through this podcast. So just a little backstory on Chris before I start getting right into asking him some deep questions and thoughts in life. Chris and I met about 10 years ago. He was a sales trainer for our company, and at the end of the day, we ended up trying to negotiate for the bar to stay open for a few more minutes for us to get another drink because we were having so much fun. And I know I learned a lot. Maybe he learned something about me in the conversation, but I had that bond that was right out of the gate that I was like, this guy is somebody that I want around in my life. That it's not about dollars and cents of charging me money. He's given me more free advice than most people could ever ask for. But it was just a genuine tie to who he is, how he is, his beliefs, and that he's accomplished things. And one of the things that I've always shared with people is you always want to find people that you want to emulate. You want to find people in your world that you want to replicate. You want to find people in this world that you can try to excel or exceed and raise the bar past maybe where they were at some point. And Chris is one of those guys. So I'm going to let him tell a little bit of his backstory, but he's been there, done that. He hasn't written the book yet, but I think he should. And he's training thousands of people in how to be better professionals in a very tough trade known as sales. So give us a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, sure, Peaches. I've always been in sales, and I graduated from college from Pittsburgh originally. Got into sales and sold golf balls. So I sold toys, which was a lot of fun. And that went well. I didn't know what I didn't know back at, when I was 23 years old in 1991 in Rochester, New York. And, fast forward probably 14 years later, I was running the company. So it really came down to, I had a father who was a CFO. That probably helped a little bit of the business acumen background. But I screwed it up enough over the years and fixed it and screwed it up again and fixed it. That it started working out pretty good. So then I got to teach everybody else how to, maybe get a little bit more. And I love you, with your Be Awesome. I say Be Outstanding. Robin Sharma is somebody that I follow, and I recommend a lot of people follow Robin. And he, I don't know if he coined this phrase, but I borrow it a lot, which is, ordinary has become an epidemic. And I've got something I say, be outstanding. Outstanding is greater than ordinary. And you've got Be Awesome. It's the same concept where, we've got choices every day. We got to just quit being afraid of screwing things up. Most successful people have screwed stuff up before, and they learn from it and they get a little bit better. So I've got a long way to go, but so far so good.
Yeah, and when you say you ran a company, 14 years later, it was kind of a big deal of a company in the golf world, right?
Yeah, it sure was. So Slazenger was a really cool company. One of the things that we did, which was a little bit different, and I fast forward today, if you're fans of the challenger sale or solution selling, value selling, insight selling, any of that, some of the things that you'll learn is, what can you do to be different? What can you do to add value? So Slazenger only sold to golf courses, the country clubs. If you didn't have a golf course there where the game was played, we wouldn't sell to you. Mm-hmm. So if people liked the product, they had to come back there to buy it. And that was our market intelligence, if you will. We would start off having better business conversations with our clients. So they would say, yeah, you're right. And then not only would they buy the product, some of the things that, I learned by trial and error, I would get them to, feature the product so it would sell through and you could fill in and all those kind of things. But yeah, Slazenger was a nice size company. A lot of people probably know it. Tennis, it's got the longest relationship between a major sporting event and a sporting goods company, Wimbledon. It goes back to 1881. As long as that relationship has been there. So pretty cool brand.
Yeah, that's cool. And that was one of the things that drew me to you when first kind of looking you up. And, when someone comes in and talks to you, today, I tell people, anybody can tell a story and anybody can put something on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You got to really look back. You got to look deep. You got to ask questions. You got to look for true referrals and references. And you got to do your homework before you really put that trust in someone, which is what I did with you, because I was like, this is just a cool cat. He's got to have a great story. And I was asking around. You hang out, Preston, with a bunch of people that I know. So, I was asking about, is this guy for real? And yeah, you're for real. You've been there and you did it. And it was growing up from the ranks. Started selling golf balls, and 14 years later, you're running the company. Now, that's one of the things that, I'm sure you come across this a lot. I think today, more than ever, people are looking for, not just in sales, but in life and business, whether it's a relationship. I mean, we're expediting relationships. You can get into a relationship in about 13 seconds if you get on Bumble or Tinder or any of these apps, opposed to having to go out or meet a friend or do whatever. And the same thing with work. Like, you get into a job and you're like, I need to be a sales director. I need to be a manager. I need to be a chief this, or I need to be a chief that. You were patient 14 years. Were you patient? Were you pushing? Were you what did you do to get through that?
Yeah, so first of all, I love selling, and I was greedy. I have 5 kids, so I was always a little selfish. I don't think it's a bad thing that money is a great motivator. It can't be your only motivator, but it's great if that's what pushes you. So again, having a father as a CFO, you start taking a look at what's going to cost to put 5 kids through college. Hey, if you want to, you mentioned I love golf. If you want to have live at a country club and you want to, enjoy going to the lake on the weekend, whatever it is, you figure it out and you say, well, that's why I always say sales is the best profession on the planet, bar none, because if you want to make more money, go make more money. Mm-hmm. So as far as leadership positions go, I was really in no hurry. I turned down a lot of middle management positions. And then what happened was Slazenger got purchased, the brand, by Adidas. Mm-hmm. And then it was under their umbrella for a while. And they took me and a couple other guys and they put us on the Adidas side. Loved it. Love Adidas to this day. I was always a Nike fan for some reason, but now more of an Adidas fan. Love the company, love the brand, love everything they do. But it wasn't for me. It was a big company. They wanted me to move to the West Coast. I was an East Coast guy. It was always a lot of pressure. And Slazenger then got spun off from this VC group, to a VC group from Adidas. And when that happened, I got an opportunity to come and be the VP of sales for Slazenger, but I turned it down because the president and I just disagreed with everything he said. So this was kind of a cool story. He was a real product guy. He was like, look, we're going to redesign the golf balls. We're going to have these icosahedrohedron dimple designs. And I'm like, what? None of that matters. And we just had a difference in philosophy. I said the best sales professional wins. And we need to invest in our team. We need to equip our team. We need to pay them more. And then we can do some damage. So he disagreed. So I wrote a letter. This was my dad's advice. Wrote a letter to Jeff Frankel, who was the one who was kind of recruiting me from the VC group to kind of come back to be the VP. And I said, look, I really respect the president, what he's doing. You got a great product guy. But do me a favor, open this letter in a year. And this was the idea from my dad. And I put in there, fast forward, your crystal ball. I said 12 months from now, your inventory is going to be out of whack because of A, B, and C. Your top salespeople are probably going to have left because of this reason. And I kind of walked through some of the issues they were going to have. So I forgot that I even said it was done. Well, a year later, I'm at Adidas. Things are great, but I get a call from Jeff Frankel. And he says, hey, we were looking to call you back anyhow. I went and got your file. I never did read that letter. I saw it was in there. My admin gave it to me. Holy crap, everything you said came true. And it wasn't that I was really that brilliant. It was they were new to the business and they didn't listen to the right people. So that's when they recruited me to come back as the CEO, which I'd love to do because I kind of grew up with, there are about 65 salespeople there that I grew up with. And I was glad to come back and join them. So that was great. And we really enjoyed that run. And then we sold it. I lose track all the time. What today is New Velocity. We started after we sold the brand to Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ed Stack's the CEO. I got to meet Ed and ended up being a license agreement with them. So today you can get Slazenger from Dick's Sporting Goods. And they've since bought Golf Galaxy. So those are the two places you can get Slazenger today.
I didn't know that story about the letter. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was one of the cool ones. I give my dad all the credit for that. It was his advice. Yeah, it was pretty neat.
But that's right there is a great example. And I actually did a podcast with Brian Andreyko, who and we're both friends with. His Just Get Started podcast, and we were talking about some positions. He asked me how did I get my position at Dude, And, it wasn't I didn't go for it. I didn't chase it. This wasn't like my ultimate goal of going up the corporate ladder and getting to evangelist. It happened, and it happened because it was the right fit. It happened because it was meant to be. It happened naturally. And I know that there were a couple of positions that I went for that I tried to force because I just thought that was the natural progression and what it is. And what you just touched on about sales. Sales is the highest paid smart working job, or the lowest paid non-working job. And I think that the biggest challenge that people have, they want to get to that next step because they're probably not working hard enough to reap that reward that you're talking about, that financial gain and that feeling of value that they're providing to their members, to their clients, to their subscribers, whatever it is that they're providing. And if they focused on that opposed to what's next, I think they would be doing so much better and realizing that. And then the other thing that you just touched on is those motivators. What motivates you? Absolutely. I got 2 kids, got 8 years worth of college, and they're spread out.
Right.
I mean, when Danny's graduating high school, chances going into first grade, I'm gonna probably realize some breathing room when Danny's done for a couple of years, and then I'm gonna be like start all over again, and I'm gonna be about 100 in a wheelchair. So I gotta start saving up because chance came in a little bit later in life, but that's important, and I think that's something that people miss so often. You talk about being outstanding, and I can remember the first time you said, I think it was, we talk about when someone calls and you say, "How you doing?" You say, "Outstanding," and I think I made a reference to being outstanding, like standing outside their window, like what it sounded like because you were saying it like, "Hey, I'm outstanding," and people would be looking outside, be like, "We're outstanding where?" But that's something that you always say, and it's not just. I can remember, to be honest with you, when I first started with with you guys and listening to that, I'll openly say I thought that was kind of hokey. I was like, all they do is say, "I'm outstanding, I'm outstanding, I'm outstanding," but it's not hokey and it's not fake if you believe it and if you insist on doing it all the time, and if you have it with a genuine authenticity that you're truly happy and outstanding. If you're just saying, "Hey, I'm outstanding," just because I want to say it and there's nothing behind it, then that's fake. But if you hear it and you believe it, then it's something that people go, "Well, why is he outstanding? Well, I want some of that happy sauce that he's got," because a lot of people I deal with are miserable and unhappy. How do you get that mind-right mindset? Because it can't be easy.
It's not. And, well, by the way, you do it better than anybody, so we should be asking you that question. So whether it's be awesome or be outstanding, those are just semantics. It really is a mindset. And you don't have to say the word, right? People will hear how you sound, your tonality, your body language, everything about you. That's really what's going to be important is when somebody's talking to you, how do you want them to feel when you're done with that engagement? And we all forget it, myself at the top of the list. I'll give you an example, and we've all heard this before, but these are the refreshers. We talk about some of the things that will help put you in a good mindset, all the different goals you want to balance in your life. But when I would travel quite a bit, and I came home, it would be rare that all my kids and my wife and I would be having dinner together, which was great when we did. And I said, one of the things you could do, I got into a bad habit of going around and I would say, "Hey, Zach, I know you were struggling with that exam. Hey, did you do homework last week or did you go play golf? Mm-hmm. Abby, I know you get straight A's all the time, but hey, are you signing up for advanced courses? Jake, what's up with this?" Whatever it might be, I'd go around. And all of a sudden dinner became like, "Oh, geez, I don't even want to be there because I'm drilling with all these questions." Mm-hmm. And I would use that time differently. And one of the things is give somebody a compliment. So if you give them a compliment, it makes you feel better. It makes your tonality better. That's what's going to be important. So you just got to be conscious about it. You got to be aware of it. Most of the time we're not. We used examples. If you check into a hotel and they don't have your room ready, well, here we go. Well, how are you going to react? You have, just a few different choices, but your tonality, your attitude, that's going to go a long way. This is why people, have heart attacks and die today. They get stressed out over things they don't need to get stressed out. I think it's Stephen Covey that says, being responsible means you're response-able. Mm-hmm. So just step back and say, "Hey, what is this situation asking of me, and how am I going to respond?" And that could be when a customer says no, a customer says, "Send me information," a coworker, handles a certain situation. You just want to step back and get into your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, and say, "What is this situation asking of me?" And listen, here's the other thing. Don't be afraid you're going to screw up. Don't let that, you're not going to say, "Well, I'm not good at this." Mm-hmm. It just means you whiff that time, and I whiff all the time. Just try to get a little bit better next time.
Yeah, you know what? You just talked about the hotel room. I'll give 2 great, what I think are great examples on the hotel room. because I travel a lot, and right there with you. More times than not, I check in even after the 4 o'clock time, and it's after a big wedding weekend or something, and they're just behind, and they say, "Hey, we're terribly sorry, your new room's not ready." You get two options. You go the option of being pissed off, right, and give them a hard time, and you're still probably not going to get your room. And if you get your room, you got your room by being a jerk, and like you got to sleep in that bed. I mean, how do you smile? How do you smile going, I got this room upgrade because I was a jerk to this person, or I got this room because I demanded it and somebody else didn't. And who's that somebody else? That somebody else could be someone that just lost a loved one that just needs a place to collect their thoughts or whatever. And so it's important for you to just say, hey, you know what? I get it. Totally understand. Not intentional. Big wedding party. People made a mess. Whatever. And step back and kind of let it go. I had someone that told me, they were so proud of themselves for this upgrade that they got because they weren't happy with where their room was and how it was set up and it smelled funny or whatever. And they're so proud to say how they basically were just bulldogs on these people.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, how did you sleep well in that room? Yeah, it's appointed nice. There's fancy, soaps and shampoos and all this other stuff. But you had to be a person that wasn't nice to get something nice. That wouldn't make me feel good at the end of the day. How do you deal with yourself on that? The other thing that you say, and it's not perfect, and when you screw up, whatever you do, however you screw up, you need to back out of it by realizing it, acknowledging it, and then moving forward. I'll give you this quick little story. Appliances are the biggest bane to my existence right now. Home appliances, and I'm starting to sound like my grandparents. Like they made them back in my day.
That's right.
Coke was a penny, and washers and dryers lasted forever. We've gone through in 12 years 4 refrigerator freezers, and I mean they're not inexpensive. They're thousands of dollars. Fancy pull door, nice things. Just had terrible luck with refrigerator freezers for the kitchen, and so. On the first go around, this was like a Samsung, which I'll never buy another Samsung. This is my negative plug for Samsung. No, it wasn't Samsung. It was LG. I'm sorry, it was LG.
Oh yeah, sorry,
LG.
Samsung.
Yeah, sorry, Samsung. Hey, Samsung did all right. That one lasted a couple years. LG, and here's why I didn't. LG, I had the refrigerator for a year and it broke, and they came in and they fixed it. And the year, it's a 1-year warranty. Of course, I didn't get the extended warranty. Got it at Lowe's. I give Lowe's a nice plug. And I didn't get the extended warranty because I said, I don't need that stuff. It's an appliance that'll last forever. And so on month 15, the same exact thing broke that they came and fixed while it was under warranty. And they said, hey, sorry, it's not under warranty. And called LG and said, it's not under warranty. And so now I'm screwed. I got this refrigerator freezer that doesn't work. I don't know what to do. I've got my fiance that's completely upset because it's $600 worth of food that's gone and spoiled. Nothing. We don't have a refrigerator freezer. You don't know how much you need something until you don't have it in today's world. Like grandparents, they were using blocks of ice. We have refrigerator freezers that have water dispensers, all this other stuff, and we can't live for a minute if it's not working. So I went down to Lowe's and I said, this is absolutely unacceptable. So I'm going to give you 2 days to get this thing rectified because this just doesn't work. And I was a jerk. I mean, I was a complete jerk. And I went down, the store manager probably put my picture up on the dartboard when I left and said, I'm not doing anything for him. So 2 days came and went, 3 days came and went. On the 4th day, I called him. I said, what are you going to do? He says, we can't do anything. I said, okay, good enough. I collected my thoughts. And I remember doing this. I collected my thoughts and I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not buying anything else from Lowe's. They've got competitors. They've got other people. I bet there's another company I can do business with. But before I do that, I'm going to collect my thoughts, I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to send the CEO of Lowe's, Robert Niblock, an email to explain to him what it is that I felt and how I felt it. And I put together a heartfelt, caring email of how important doing business with Lowe's all these years was and how upset I was and how I couldn't find myself because they didn't back me up. I'm going to have to go someplace else to do my business. And people go, wait a second, you sent a Fortune 100 CEO his email. How'd you get his email address? Well, there's this thing called Google. You can find anybody's email address. So first and foremost, I emailed Jeff Bezos. I'll email anybody. I'll call them if they got their phone number on there. But I emailed them this, and it was a heartfelt, truly, I'm sorry, and I even apologized. I said, please let the store manager know that I've emailed the CEO of his company, which is a Fortune 100 company, and I need to turn myself in. I was a complete jerk. 15 minutes after I sent that email, his office called me.
That's awesome.
I mean, called me up and talked to me. The reason why I'm upset with LG is because he actually tried to get the refrigerator taken under warranty through LG, and they denied it. Lowe's stood behind it. They gave me a gift card for $2,600. What I paid for the refrigerator freezer the year before. Gave me a gift card for the full amount. Took the old refrigerator freezer out and stood by it. And it was all because I didn't get mad and I shared my true experience. And I did it in a way that wasn't offensive and hurtful. And that's what what we're talking about. People get into these offensive, hurtful situations. It's just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And that's that mindset of being the most outstanding version of yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, that you talk about.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, let's get into getting uncomfortable. First of all, the shirt. You can talk about the shirt and the diagram, and give us the LeBron James breakdown and your version of it.
Oh yeah. So LeBron James, I was just watching ESPN one night, and whether it's my kids, all of the sales professionals and sales leaders we work with, it's talking all the time about being better and worse. Everything we do, so much of what we do is out of habit, just the rituals we have. And it's our bad habits are costing us the outstanding version or the awesome version of ourselves. And we've got to be aware, we have to be able to do something about it. So here's LeBron James, arguably the best basketball player of all time, who's sitting there saying, hey, I like to get uncomfortable. I like to get uncomfortable a lot. So I just, took a quick video of that. We put it out there on LinkedIn and it got a lot of views. And people we like it, and they, hey, I like this, but what do you do? If we really took inventory and ask, the people around you, what have you done differently? What have you done to get a little bit better? I see salespeople all the time that want to talk about email, and they all have that one story where they landed that one account on email. That's great. That's one. But take a look at the statistics. You've got to pick up the phone, or, if the opportunity presents itself, get in front of people, and that's where business is done. But for a lot of people, that's not expanding their comfort zone. That's like panic zone because they haven't practiced it. Think right now why you don't do it. Whether it's gatekeepers or somebody giving you an objection. There's only 7 objections that exist in all of sales. That's it, 7. You can take the time to get prepared for that, but you have to get outside of your comfort zone. Instead of saying, well, the most dangerous words in business, when asked, why do you do it that way? It's because the answer is, well, it's because how we've always done it. That's scary. You want to make sure you're getting outside your comfort zone. People all nod their head right now, but what are you doing about it? You got to take action, big, massive action.
Well, let's talk about that. We're selling to people to get them out of their comfort zone because they're doing what we're going to ask them to offer them is to get them out of doing what they've always done, right?
That's right.
So it's a two-way comfort zone there. Like you think you're uncomfortable, you're calling somebody and asking them to get uncomfortable. And the more comfortable you are being uncomfortable with that, the easier it is for that consumer. As long as you believe in that true value of what you're delivering, you're going to help, and you're going to make 2 people get uncomfortable and be comfortable doing it. And I think that's pretty awesome.
We tend to delay things that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This just popped in my head talking to you. I don't know if I've ever told the story, but I remember 9th grade. I wanted to ask Michelle Mesha to the 9th grade dance, Seneca Valley High School outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm in 9th grade, and I was, I was nervous, and I didn't do it, So I don't remember when the dance was. Maybe like the following Saturday. It wasn't like the next Saturday, but Monday I was going to do it. I would see her at her locker 2 times during the day. Nothing. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, nothing. And if I don't ask her on Friday, it's for a week, 8 days later, a guy doesn't care, he just throws on something from his dad, a jacket, and goes to the 9th grade dance. But, girls have to get the dresses and things like that. So I finally do it. And I was so bad at it. I knew her a little bit, so we were kind of friends. And I just remember saying, "Oh, Michelle, hey, you want to go to the 9th grade dance?" Like, there was nothing. And I was like, hyperventilating. She's like, "Sure." I'm like, "Okay, great. Talk to you later." Like, it's just terrible. But, that's something I remember being really uncomfortable. What I do for a living, cold calling or starting a new relationship, coming up to a C level, that doesn't bother me. But, I'm 51 now, 51 years old. When I was 31 years old, reaching out to a CEO of a company, that was scary. I remember that. I was nervous. It's good to be nervous. It's an exciting thing. Even public speaking, I won't say I'm nervous, but I'm excited. You know what? Maybe it is nerves, but you definitely know that you're not just going to stand somewhere. There's a difference between attending an event and running an event. And you've got to no matter what you do, just always ask yourself, what 1, 2, or 3 things can I do to do this better? we just wing things. We don't prepare, and that's how you can expand your comfort zone.
Yeah, and those are great. You hit the speaking thing, and that was a question Brian had asked me about being nervous. And I said, being a public speaker is there. No one comes out a public speaker. Come out maybe a public crier because we all scream and shout.
True.
But when we're born, they don't have like a list of what you're good at. It's truly a learned talent to be a public speaker, to be a good public speaker. And I'm lucky to get pretty good reviews, and I get asked all the time. I say, I'm nervous every single time I stand in front of people. I'm nervous because I have high expectations of myself. I know that the audience has high expectations of me, and I want to give them something that they can take home to make a difference in their lives. And if I don't feel that I've done that, I don't feel that I've done what I'm supposed to do, and I'm hard on myself. But I'm not so hard on myself that I go, I'm never going to do it again. I'm hard on myself because I make sure that I have awareness, and I'm not. Too many people are closed-minded to, what it is people have to say or what they have to say. And I talked about this with having the people around you. I've talked about it a couple of times when asked. Is it's important to define and find a difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. There are people, no matter what you do, what you say, how you do it, and how you say it, they're going to be destructive. They're just angry, they're negative, they don't know how to communicate, whatever. We focus on that, way too much. I'll give an example. I did a keynote. I'm gonna say I knocked it out of the park. I don't say that this often. I mean, it was one of my last speaking engagements before one of my last keynotes before we were expecting the birth of our son Chance. I was crying at Tide commercials at this point. I mean, it's highly emotional. I had some really good content that I was sharing about my life, personal stuff, and the audience was phenomenal, just lights out, best people. I came dressed up in an inflatable dinosaur. It was Halloween. It was an inflatable Halloween dinosaur costume. That's how I came to the stage. Marcus Williams, one of my sales team members, he came up and he actually got me out of the costume so I could give this keynote. And I thought I did fantastic. But I wear jeans. I wear my Be Awesome t-shirts, I wear jeans, and I wear Adidas Stan Smith sneakers for a long-standing favorite shoe. And that's just my thing. And I felt so good about this keynote, and I got the survey results back, and I want to get the survey results back. And there was one that basically said, who does he think he is? He wore jeans to deliver the keynote. And I'm sitting here saying, well, maybe I should. And I remember doing this. I go, should I not wear jeans anymore? One person out of tens of thousands of people. And I'm sitting here spending time wondering about, is my wardrobe impacting negatively, even though it was only one person? And it took me a while, and I saw the rest of the review, and I go, well, that person's giving me destructive criticism, not because they want to help me, because they want to hurt me. For whatever reason, maybe they're hurt. And I need to put that aside. We need to take constructive criticism, and if that person said, hey, you know what, you did really, really well, but the way that you said this was offensive, or the way that you said this was hurtful, and maybe you want to change your words, or maybe you might want to consider thinking about this. So when people have something to say that you don't want to be like, oh, that person's just negative on everything. You want to really analyze and go, where's that coming from? What is their intent? And what could the end result be differently if I were to consider it? So if I considered not wearing jeans, so I wear khakis or I wear a suit, whatever. What's that impact look like?
I don't see it. I think you got to stick with the jeans.
I'm sticking with the jeans. I'm sticking with the jeans, but
they're not. Well, it's hot out. If you had, what do they call them? Jorts. If you had jeans shorts on, I'd be a little nervous right now. That's good.
Hey, have you seen the jean sweatpants?
Not seen those.
Oh man, that might be coming on next.
Yeah, we might have to stay away from those. Well, social media is ridiculous, right? Most people spend more time trying to have this great Facebook life than they do really have a great life. Mm-hmm. And it's not just millennials either. People get sucked into this thing, and now you're a target. So you get yourself or any other influencer out there. You might move 999 people, but that 1,000th person, that go ahead and gives you a little bit of self-doubt. You really are. You look at anybody who's, and you're better at social media than I am, but you look at any of the best leaders, the best influencers out there, there's a lot of hate.
Yeah.
And it's usually people taking cheap shots. But if you try to be vanilla, you're not going to move all those other people. Mm-hmm. If you're not a little bit controversial, you're probably not really moving the needle. Mm-hmm. So Tony Robbins, I know a lot of people that think he's a joke. And what he does is very different than what I do. So he's a phenomenal speaker, first of all. Mm-hmm. He really is. That voice and his stature and everything else. Yeah. But one of the most intelligent people about the mindset and human behavior and how important your attitude really is. And does he get a little bit deep, a little bit out there sometimes? And I've heard about his seminars. I've never been one where, look at a stranger and put your hands on their shoulder, look them in the eye and tell them you love them. That's not my thing, right? Because to me, if I tell you I love you, I'm sincere. I love. There's probably a lot of value in that. But even if it's that exercise that makes you uncomfortable, at a 2-day seminar, Tony Robbins, you're going to get everything else is going to be spectacular. So don't worry about the one or two throwaways. Talk about what you can take out of those things. So again, I think social media just brings the haters at the forefront. But yeah, I hope you totally disregard that.
Oh, yeah.
And not to go too deep into that, but it was, John T. Malloy, one of the first books I read, Dress for Success. And there's much better ones, more current ones out today, especially for women, because he doesn't really touch women's attire. But the takeaway that I would say that I got out of all that is, he might tell you dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. And that made sense back in 1980s or whenever that book was authored. Today, what do you feel comfortable in? Because that's when you're going to be awesome, because you feel comfortable. If you're up there with a tie on, you're not going to be awesome peaches.
No more ties for me. That's definitely a no-go for me. So let's talk about, you and I talked a little bit about this and shift gears a little bit back to the idea on sales and humans specifically. There is all this talk about, artificial intelligence, business intelligence, the art of sales as we know it is going by the wayside, and, automated phone calls. I mean, if you call some companies now, or the bot chats. I mean, I don't know how familiar if you've done bot chats with, but I mean, if you have a problem on a website and you start typing in stuff, chances are that's a computer that's actually responding to you. That's not Clara or Tom or whoever. But I'm a believer, and you and I talked about this. As long as there's a human involved in a transaction, there's a need for a salesperson. What are your thoughts?
I do, yeah. I think you look like, take LinkedIn for example. Try to get somebody from customer service on LinkedIn on the phone. Good luck. It's all automated. They have different models now, and that can work. If you sell an iPhone, right? That product is so spectacular, it doesn't need a great salesperson necessarily. So whatever it is now, to sell 50 million phones a quarter, you can be a good, not a great salesperson as a whole for Apple. But to sell 55 or 10% more to hit, what Wall Street wants to see to make the stock price go up, you still need tremendous salespeople. When I was interviewed for a job with Slazenger Golf, I remember having dinner with Kay and David Brannon. David was the CEO, Kay was his wife, but very involved in the company. And they asked me, do you think it's easier to sell Slazenger or Titleist? Well, I didn't know if it was a trick question or whatever it was. I'm like, well, without question, Titleist. Number one in market share and number one on the PGA Tour, that's easier to sell than, Slazenger, which was more of a niche company and had a specific go-to-market strategy. No question it's harder to sell, but guess what? You can make a lot more money. The top salesperson for Slazenger back in the day, this was probably 1991, that person was probably making, $500,000 back in 1991. Top salesperson for Titleist, had a nice company car and things like that, was probably making $200,000. They were a more marketing-driven company. They weren't a sales-driven company. So I think you could take it out of context depending on the sales or the solution that you're actually selling. But I don't see it. I guess an example of that today would be, you got marketing qualified leads. And that's good. That's a big part of business. Companies should do that if they can. They've got a marketing team sending out automated emails. They've got the sequence in the tree. And if they opened it up, send this one. If they didn't, send that one. You can get some leads from that, and you probably should be doing it. But those high value accounts that you really want to get, that's going to be more of a, jab, jab, punch, if you've heard of that concept, right? So maybe you need to join them on LinkedIn. Maybe you need to share some insights, share some information. You need to comment on some white papers they authored or some posts on LinkedIn. Get to know them, get in their network, give a little before you try to go ahead and say, hey, listen, we may be able to add value. Can we have a cup of coffee? Can we have an initial meeting? Can we do a demo? Whatever that might be. And salespeople are going to do that. So I think, I think you're going to see artificial intelligence and the predictive coding that's out there. I think you're going to see that continue to play an important role. But you watch the best high-performing sales professionals are going to still be people that can look you in the eye and persuade you to see and feel what you see and feel. And a great word that the Challenger put on the map, but it's been around a lot longer than the Challenger sale, is reframe. can you reframe the way somebody's looking at something? And it still, for the most part, takes a person to do that.
Yeah. We're going to get real. That's what people, we got to stay real and get real as a human. I had a conversation, and I'm not a business intelligence chaser, and I put money on stuff just based on feeling. Every year in the United States, roughly 500,000 companies are started, and less than 4% of them are still in existence at the end of 5 years.
Yeah.
I would put money that if somebody had the time to do the research on that 4%, I would put money that 100% of them had exemplary Salesforce sales team that are getting those companies to get to 5 years. I bet of those 500,000 companies, I bet there are better companies in the same market and the same thing, product-wise or service-wise or whatever it was that they were providing, that didn't have a good go-to-market strategy, didn't have a good sales team, that's now out of business. The companies that stay and the companies that grow and the companies that kick ass are companies that have dynamic, good, strong sales organizations that are pushing themselves, raising the bar, getting out of their comfort zone, getting guys like you to come in, get them amped up and show them the way, opposed to saying, let's do these tools, let's look at this, let's just wait for the phone to ring. Because that doesn't happen, right? The phone doesn't ring anymore. You got to be dialing.
Not as much as you want to. And there's some great. I mean this sincerely. I'm not trying to do a back crawl away from our marketing listeners out there. What marketing does right now is really cool, especially when their messages are, "Hey, I see you. We're interested in this, that, or the other thing. Wanted to let you know," and you provide some information. That's going to be really powerful. But it's still, you're going to need to pick up the phone for some of those high target accounts.
Well, and that's not absolutely. I mean, our marketing team here, dude, is just lights out right now. I mean, this is the best. We're at in Raleigh at our Dude University annual conference, and Chris is based down here in Raleigh. And I mean, from the branding standpoint, from the educational standpoint, I mean, we're just knocking it out of the park, getting interest and getting people to that next step in the sales interest side.
Yeah. Well, to put a bow around that, I think you're right. I certainly didn't coin this frame; it's been out there forever. But smarketing, right? How does sales and marketing work together? Yeah. That's where you're going to see, optimizing your sales performance. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, we've taken up a breakout room. People are starting to come in, so we're down to about the last minute or so before we got to probably wrap up. So. This has been fantastic. I think we got to do a part 2 here because you got a ton of stuff to share to the world, and we need to get it out there. And you're just getting out. I mean, you're just talking about it. I have been pushing you on social media, and I love what you're doing because you're doing professional videos. You're tying in some humorous openings, but you're giving great stories. I want to talk about the speeding ticket sometime. I want to talk about that. I think we should talk about that openness and owning what you do wrong and how that all works. But for the sake of time, how do people get a hold of you? What are you offering? Who are you talking to?
Yeah, perfect. And by the way, we use LinkedIn exclusively as a go-giver campaign. We don't, pump out anything about New Velocity there, which is the name of our company, New Velocity. We just send out little tidbits. It could be for sales leaders. It could be for CEOs. Predominantly, it's for sales professionals, but we'd like to give away a lot of content that people seem to enjoy. So that's on LinkedIn. It's Chris Daltorio with an A, D-A-L, Daltorio. So they can find us there. And then the website is mynewvelocity.com. So just mynewvelocity.com. And I hope they do, and we'll continue to push it out there. It's fun, a salesperson at a time. We might have to buy off them someday. So, we want them to be the outstanding or the awesome version of themselves.
Yeah, and then you have little promotions every once in a while in your videos where you're giving away a T-shirt if they make a comment or something, just a random something. So be sure to follow it along. I've got a T-shirt. My son's got a T-shirt. It helps everybody. It keeps it fun and interesting. I strongly suggest following them. I follow Chris and New Velocity. Every chance I get, I'm learning a little something, and it might not be lightning in a bottle. It might be a refresher or a reminder, but he's got some really good, unique ways and things that he looks at things. And the videos are like I say, there's some good humor. He dressed up like a wizard or something there recently and snapped your fingers and got rid of that beard, which was great. I think you should grow the beard myself. But I really appreciate you coming out, taking the time to be here and sharing some of your story. I'd love to hear your ninth grade dinner dance story that you got out for the first time ever here, right on the Be Awesome podcast. So in the meantime, always thank you. This has been phenomenal. We're getting ratings and reviews on the podcast on iTunes. That's what gets my numbers up, number of subscribers. We've got, I think I looked at something on Google Play that showed that I have like 5,500 subscribers, which is fantastic. We're getting a lot of downloads, a lot of listeners. If you put a rating or review on iTunes, a measurement there, send me an email and I will be sure to send you a T-shirt or a coffee mug. Send an email to Josh at BeAwesome. It's Josh at BeAwesome, BeAusm.com. And in the meantime, my good friend Pat Buchanan is about to give a presentation. So if you heard that buzzing, that's my friend of 20 years giving me the cue to wrap it up. So remember, to be awesome, you got to do awesome. Thanks so much.